In a world that so often feels divided, even chaotic, have you ever just wondered if there's some kind of universal code for living a good life? Well, today we're diving into a text that says there is. It's called The Universal Essence of Dharma and Moral Conduct. We're going to unpack its timeless ideas for how to live, and it all kicks off with a pretty powerful challenge to leaders everywhere. So, this text doesn't start with some gentle proverb or quiet thought. No, it opens with this direct challenge. It frames this whole discussion not as some abstract philosophy, but as a direct call out. It's saying this is about leadership, and it's about immense responsibility. It's placing the weight of our moral compass squarely on the shoulders of those who are meant to guide us. So, why such an urgent appeal to leaders right from the get-go? Well, because, as the source argues, we're right in the middle of what it calls a crisis of conduct, a fundamental disconnect from the very principles that are supposed to hold our societies together. And this is the central question the text is really wrestling with. It's looking around and seeing this growing disrespect for the very ideas meant to guide us. But when it points to the cause, it's probably not what you'd think. It doesn't blame the people. And that is a bold, almost radical claim, right? The text is arguing the problem isn't a failure of society, but a failure of its spiritual leaders. And that suggests that if we're going to fix this so-called crisis of conduct, we have to go back to basics and really understand the one core principle they've supposedly forgotten. Which brings us to the core concept of this entire text. To get the solution, we have to first get a handle on this universal idea called Dharma. So what exactly is it? In its essence, the source defines Dharma with this really simple but powerful phrase, Dharanaya Dharma. It means that which sustains. So try not to think of it as a list of religious rules. Instead, think of it as like the fundamental cosmic gravity that holds everything in the universe together, from planets in orbit to people in a community. Okay, now this is where the text gets really, really interesting because it connects the spiritual with the scientific. So look at the left side here, the spiritual view. You've got Mahapran, the great life force, which people call by many names, God, Allah, Shiv. Now look at the right, the scientific view. You have cosmic rays, the fundamental energy that science tells us sustains our world. The text's brilliant argument is that these are just two different languages describing the exact same sustaining power. And this is the powerful rhetorical question the source asks to really drive the point home. I mean, think about it. If we all accept that a physical body needs that life force to exist, how can we possibly believe that a whole society can function without its equivalent sustaining force? To even try, the text suggests, is just a form of collective foolishness. All right, so if Dharma is the force that sustains everything, how do we actually live in a way that supports it? Well, the source lays out 5 universal principles of moral conduct that it says apply to everyone, everywhere. So here they are. Ahimsa, which is nonviolence. Satya, truthfulness. Asteya, non-stealing. Brahmacharya, which it calls expanding the self. And finally, aparigraha, or non-possessiveness. The source presents these not as rules for any one religion, but as a universal code for all of humanity. Basically, it's don't harm people, be honest, don't take what isn't yours, see beyond yourself, and don't hoard things. So let's dig into how the text defines a few of these. And what's really beautiful about the way the source explains all this is that it all comes back to a very simple, very human idea, empathy. Just look at this elegant definition. For nonviolence, it basically says, if being hit or insulted causes you pain, then don't do it to others. Simple. For truthfulness, if being lied to or cheated on causes you deep emotional pain, then don't inflict that same pain on someone else. It's the golden rule, really, just put in a universal context. And the concept of non-stealing, asteya, gets a much deeper meaning here. It's not just about, grabbing a physical object. The source says theft is using any personal advantage you have, whether it's your physical strength, your specialized knowledge, or your sharp intelligence, to take something that isn't rightfully yours. That really makes you think about theft in a much broader, more modern way, doesn't it? All of these principles eventually lead to the final and maybe the most profound one of all, brahmacharya. And the text presents this as the ultimate goal, a fundamental shift in how we see ourselves and our place in the world. The source defines brahmacharya as this journey from what it calls the trivial self to the greater self. The trivial self on the left is all about its own gain, my wealth, my fame, my status. But the greater self understands it's part of a much larger whole. Its actions are centered on the well-being of everyone else, of society, the nation, all of humanity. It's about expanding your sense of me to include we. And maybe this is the source's real answer to that crisis of conduct, that too many of us are just stuck in that trivial self.
And in the end, the text turns the mirror back on us. It gives us this entire framework, not so we can judge other people, but so we can ask ourselves a really fundamental question. If Dharma truly is the energy that sustains our world, then every single day, with every action we take and every word we speak, are we strengthening it or are we causing it to decay? It's a powerful and pretty personal question to reflect on.